Observations about vocabulary. I seem to have many students now, Dr. Shin of course too, who are planning to go to the States. And I'm watching people do things the wrong way, I think. Now, everything depends on whether one is, what was that gentleman's name? Hong Chung-uk. Hong Chung-uk, the famous Hong Chung-uk, I guess. Now, he was serious, of course. His intention was to learn the English language and everything, all the words in it. I think that was his intention, and perhaps he did it. He had many advantages, of course. 4 years at Choate, I think. I don't know about 4, but I think 4. 4 years at Choate, doing well, president of his class, blah, blah, blah. But here's my point. If you are serious about learning vocabulary words, then here's what I think here is some advice. First of all, you must constantly review what you did last week. Students come here, 2 students are coming here now who arrived yesterday with this week's list of 150 words. Well, it's absurd to suppose that, first of all, that they will learn those 150 words. I don't think they will. If they wanted to, really they could. But the problem will be that next week, of those 150 words, they will remember 10, maybe 10. Unless the student is prepared to constantly review, seriously, aggressively review, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It just is a waste of time. If you want to learn these things, then get serious. If we're playing a game, then I think you should play another game. Learn 10 words a week, maybe. Bring it down. Even then, you will not remember them next week unless you review. Review is the only way. I put this in pictorial fashion yesterday for some students. The common way is a straight arrow. That is a linear style. This week's words, next week's words, just keep going in that direction, never looking back. Total waste of time. Almost total, immense waste of time. The only reasonable way is like this. I'm moving that way, but I'm constantly reviewing backward. It's the only way. Otherwise, you are literally wasting your time. Second, I think Dr. Shin's idea of our exercise here is great. And frankly, I don't see how a student could do this on his or her own. That is, someone has to tell the student how these words are used. And the students who don't learn how these words are used, the 2 students who arrived yesterday with their 150 words and their Korean definitions for this week, many of the words absurdly useless, sublimely useless, just words caught, I think, by a well-meaning teacher maybe, but just going through the dictionary, that looks good, that looks good. It can't be. Even the lists made by natives are suspect, I think, but again, my point. Constant review if you are serious. If you're not serious, then you are playing a game, I'm playing a game, Dr. Shin is playing a game, the parents are playing a game, all a game. And that is probably the truth. We are all playing a game. But if you're not just playing a game, then you must constantly review the words that you did last week. You must aggressively relearn the words that either you never learned in the first place or that you've forgotten. And secondly, I think you must pay attention to something like Dr. Shin's film, or somehow find out how these words are used by people who know how to use them. Sometimes dictionaries have this information. Sometimes dictionaries offer sentences. The great dictionaries, like the Oxford English Dictionary, offer many sentences from historical passages in which one can see these words used. But if the student has only a Korean definition, or worse, an English definition, which he or she 50% understands, well, this is worthless. This is pointless. So, my advice, I'm sorry, I like to tell you brutal truths as I see them, and Dr. Shin encourages me to do this, and so I'm doing it. Again, get serious, or you're wasting a lot of time. Okay, first word, drifter. I suggest not a very serious word, almost slang, but to drift is to wander around, kind of not have a home, wander from place to place, as we say. A drifter is a person who does this. Poor, probably. Dystopia. Wow, I have never seen this word, but let's figure it out. D-Y-S, dys, from Greek, means bad, basically. Dyslexia, dysfunctional, this, that. Topia probably has to do with place. So dystopia is a technical, probably medical word, I assume. Perhaps from optometry, eyes, something like that, maybe. Having to do with misplacement, that's my guess. Dr. Shin will correct me if he, or we will find the meaning. I've never heard of it. Ebb. The tide ebbs, waxes and ebbs. To wax, by the way, very good word, poetic word always. If things wax, they grow. If they wane, they diminish, they become smaller. Ebb is to slip away, like the tide. His strength ebbed as the game went on. Eccentric, excellent, important word. Out of the ordinary, but strange, bizarre. My haircut is a bit eccentric, and maybe I'm a little eccentric, or maybe very. But maybe we're all pretty eccentric. The more closely one looks at any human being, the more eccentric that person becomes. Ecstatic. Usually it means joyful, just out of one's mind in joy. And that's probably the best use. Out of one's mind in joy. It's a superlative. Check that word. Good, better, best, greatest, most wonderful, richest, and all that. Superlatives are always full of exaggeration, inflated, but I was ecstatic when I heard the news that, when I heard the good news. Edge. Edge is a noun, not very interesting, the edge of the table, but to edge closer to the winner, to the leader, means to move at a slow but steady pace towards some objective. Effigy. An effigy is an imitation, a copy, let's say, of something, but the most common use has been, he was hung in effigy, meaning they made a statue or a doll that looked like him, and then they hung him or burned him, meaning they didn't like him. Effigy, good word. Effusive, wonderful word, pretty much the same as ecstatic. Indescribably full of joy. Gushing is the real meaning. Emotionally gushing. She was effusive in her praise of the dancers. Gushing. Eject, to throw out. In sports and baseball, he was ejected from the game. A pilot whose plane is going down tries to eject from his plane. That's VI there. They ejected him, VT, to throw out. Elastic, flexible. Elastic band, of course, but to be elastic, like to be resilient, to be flexible. Not used much in that way, though. Elated, kind of like ecstatic. I was elated when I heard the news. Good word. Electrify, to excite, incredibly, intensely. Excuse me. Dr. Shin? Coffee? Asked before. Electrify is to excite. The crowd was electrified by the athlete's performance. Eligible. It comes from the Latin root, which means to elect, so a person who is eligible can be elected. But a student is eligible for a visa if the student can produce certain documents and papers, so forth. Elliptic. Elliptic is a word from mathematics, I think, an elliptical curve, ellipsis. But elliptic, ellipses or elliptical marks suggest something that's skipped. In any case, elliptic is a curve which leaps over something in common use, I think. Elucidate is to analyze and explain. Elucidate, he elucidated his theory of relativity. Emanate, to come from. A bad odor emanated from the hole in the ground. Emanate, good. Eminence, fame, importance. His eminence, sometimes preeminence. His eminence in the field was absolute, meaning no one came close to his skill. Eminent, famous, outstanding, same. An emissary is a person who was sent, who has been sent from one place to another. Kind of like a messenger, but more important. To emit is similar to emanate. No, the whole emitted an odor which emanated from the whole. Emit, to send out. Empathy, and the verb to empathize. The word is overused probably, but if I feel empathy with you, okay, you hurt your arm or something, you're badly hurt, and I say I empathize with you, I feel empathy for you, it literally means I feel the same thing as you, which of course we both know is a lie. If I sympathize with you, that's enough. I feel with you, but I don't feel what you feel. Empirical means having to do with experience. It's really only important in philosophy. Empirical, the British are traditionally empiricists. Empirical means having to do with experience or judging truth from experience. An employee is a person who is employed by an employer. His employees loved him because his employees were elated when he gave them a big raise. Enamored. Notice, to be enamored of something. Possible good question there, an SSAT or SAT. To be enamored of something or someone is to be in love with. It's usually not used very strongly. He's enamored of, what should we say, of Daybreak Plaza. I don't know. To enclose is to confine. The property is enclosed inside a fence. Enclosure is the fence around the property. To encumber is to burden. Good word. He was encumbered by his equipment. The photographer was encumbered by his equipment when he tried to run after the star. Weighed down, burdened. Weighed down, burdened. Often used unencumbered. I am unencumbered by responsibilities on a day like today. Not burdened. Engrossed means absorbed. He was engrossed in his reading. Absorbed, meaning he was concentrating so hard that he didn't know what was happening around him. An enigma is a puzzle. His behavior is an enigma. Adjective, enigmatic. Enlighten is to inform someone. He enlightened me about the truth. He informed me. Ennui, French word, boredom. Strictly speaking, it's stronger than boredom, and that's why we have the word boredom and ennui in English. Ennui for the French can be almost philosophical. Boredom, no. Ennui is a fundamental unrest, agitation. Thoreau says, almost a cliche, we live our lives in quiet desperation. That's ennui. Quiet desperation. We try to be accustomed to things, but at bottom we are desperate. Notice, desperate. Enormous, huge, big, an enormous fire. Enthrall is basically similar to captivate, but the idea is that the performance by the opera singer enthralled the audience. Just captivated, made delighted. Enthusiastic, I think you know, to be enthusiastic about something is to be excitedly interested in. To entice is to lure, to persuade someone usually to come to oneself by offering something. He enticed the cat into the room by offering the cat some food or something. To entreat is to beg. Entreat is a good word. Entreat, beseech, implore. Good threesome. Enumerate is to count off. He enumerated his blessings yesterday on Thanksgiving, or 2 days ago or something. Same as to number. Envy, I think you know, one of the 7 deadly sins. I'll talk about that sometime. It's a great subject, a brilliant subject. Envy, noun, verb. As a noun, of course, it's the sin. As a verb, I envy. I'll tell you a trick. I envy him his ability. Double accusative, we would call it. Double direct object. It's not really the case. I think him is the indirect object. It has to be. But in another language, they would both be accusative. The idea is, this is a tricky use of envy. Now, I envy you, period. Okay, normal. I wish I were as good as you. I wish I were as rich as you. I wish I had your ability. Notice this wish, kajang pup, this wish subjunctive. Very important. But I envy you your wisdom or something. Double object there. Good, should be a question on your tests. Epical. Must be from epic. It's an adjective of epic, but usually epic is used as an adjective, even like epic poem. Epical means of or worthy of an epic. An epic is a long poem about a serious matter, usually national glory, like the Iliad. Epidemic, a disease usually, which spreads in a wide area. Epilogue, a kind of commentary or conclusion that follows at the end, right? Should. Epilogue? Epilogue follows at the end, kind of, I may be confused there. Oh my God. We'll come back. Equanimity. Balance. He heard the news with equanimity. That is, he did not get upset. He remained calm, balanced. See yesterday, composure. Equilibrium. Balance. What's the difference? Equanimity is a psychological, emotional state. Animus, our state of being, kind of. Equilibrium is simply balance. The word is used in physics, I think. That is, things balanced by gravity or something. Equanimity is the more important word, but equilibrium also. Equipment, the stuff one uses to perform one's duties, the photographer and his equipment from before. Equitable, fair, an equitable solution, an equitable decision, fair to both sides. To equivocate, good word. To equivocate is basically to lie. he equivocated about his when the reporter asked him if he wanted to run for office. He equivocated. It means stand on the fence. Kind of both. Voc, speak, voice. It kind of means to lie, though, not tell the truth. To erect, adjective, erect, standing up straight. To erect, to build. They erected a monument for him. Built, standing up. Erode, eat away. There are differences between erode, corrode, erosion. Soil erodes, that is S-O-I-L. Lots of rain, the soil is eaten away, that's erode. But you can, maybe in Korean society, a number of crises and misfortunes, because of the number of crises and misfortunes, the popularity of your leader is perhaps eroding. VT, these misfortunes erode popular support of him. Erroneous, having to do with error. An erroneous remark made yesterday. Wrong. Error. Erudite, wonderful word. Learned, having great knowledge. Erudition, learning. That's a noun. He has great learning. He showed off his learning, his erudition. Read a lot and retained a lot. Notice, some people read a lot but don't retain a lot. Frankly, most readers of novels, I find, such reading can be what I would call, what should we say, missing a word here. Drug, like drug, God, I can't think of the word. Anyway, some reading, I think, is purely has the same function as drugs, that is, to make the time pass. So, why did I say that? I don't know. Beware novels, lots of novels. Read more nonfiction. If you're really serious about the English language, if you read mainly to build English language, read history. That's best, I think. Balance it with newspaper reading. Erupt. The volcano erupted, exploded. He erupted. The room erupted in laughter, exploded. Estimate. To guess the value of. Now, it's from the word esteem, and esteem is respect. But estimate, or the noun, an estimate, tends to mean a guess at the probable value of something. Estranged, cut off from, like alienated. He was estranged from his family, or estranged from his fellow employees, because, that is, he was isolated, alienated. Etymology is the study of the roots or derivation of words, usually from Latin, Greek, French, German, in English. Eulogy is a speech in praise of someone, usually at a funeral. Some wits say that eulogies are full of lies, and it's probably true. Euphemism, important word, mentioned it yesterday, I think. A euphemism is a pleasant word used in place of an unpleasant word. Of course, there are euphemisms about our toilet habits, but also about death, about all things unpleasant. One euphemism that Americans love to use, he passed away. Pass away is a euphemism for died. He died. But people feel a little bit reluctant to say he died, and therefore they use he passed away. That's a euphemism. Euphony is harmony of sound. Euphonious adjective, not very used. Good word. Euphoria, much more important. Euphoria is a sense of well-being, that is, that usually it's almost joy. It's almost elation. But it's an illusory sense of well-being. That is, I feel like everything is just fine in my life, close to complacency of yesterday. A feeling of euphoria. I have this feeling of euphoria that is all is well and everything is fine with me. Probably an illusion. It's at times like this, people say, when a truck is coming right at us, but we don't see it. That's euphoria, maybe. Evasive. To avoid, he gave an evasive reply. They asked him a direct question, and he gave an evasive response. Similar, perhaps, to equivocate. That's a verb. Evasive, avoiding. Evoke is to call out. He evoked images of last year's flood, or something evokes, calls forth, to call forth. Exacerbate is to irritate and make worse. His disease was exacerbated by his by his exhaustion. That is, he was exhausted, and so his disease worsened. Exaggerate is to blow up, as we say, to lie, really, about something. He exaggerated the difficulty of the problem. That is, it wasn't a difficult problem. Exaggeration, same. Excavate is to dig up from the ground. People have excavated the tombs of the Shilla kings and all that in Gyeongju and around there. Dig up. Excel is from close to excellent, to excel at something. He excelled the others, though, so VT and VI. He excelled everyone else in the class in something. Excel there means surpass. But mostly I think it's VI. He excelled in math. Excess, noun, too much. Superfluity, probably later. Excessive. He ate excessively. He drank excessively. His excessive laughter embarrassed everyone. Too much. Exclude, to leave out. Wangta. A wangta is excluded from the company of others. The people exclude him or her. I don't know why I thought of that. Executive. Executive is mostly a noun. The boss. The chief executive in the American government is the president. The U.S. government is divided into the three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Executive. To exert is hard, a little hard. I exerted myself when I picked up. That's interesting. It's one of the few verbs in English that is often used reflexively. Reflexive verb. I see myself. Okay, any verb can be used reflexively. He sees himself. But I exerted myself when I picked up the piano. That is, I strained too much. Often used then reflexively. Interesting. Noun, exertion. Because of his exertions, the team won the game. That is great effort, extreme effort. To exhaust as a verb is good. VT. I'm going to use it rather than the usual PP, exhausted, meaning tired. Exhausted, often just another hyperbole, another exaggeration, another superlative, really. Anyway, he exhausted all the possibilities, and then finally he surrendered. He gave up. Exhibit. Americans often use the word as a noun, and it shouldn't be. It should only be a verb, but it's accepted. Anyway, as a verb, he exhibited his works of art last year in Paris. Americans say he held an exhibit in Paris as a noun. British exhibition. One of these shortcuts that we Americans take in our, I think, harsh treatment of the English language. I think in the end we've got to admit it. Talk about that sometime. The poor American language. Anyway, exhibition. Usually the exhibition was held in Gyeongju. Show, display. Exhilarated, similar to elated, similar to ecstatic, wherever that is. Anyway, exhilarated, often used in the present participle, exhilarating, meaning exciting, thrilling. His performance was exhilarating. I was exhilarated when I saw the performance, meaning thrilled to death, as we Americans say. Very excited. Exit, noun, the door that people go through, or the road off the highway is also an exit. That's a noun. Sometimes used as a verb. After all, it is a verb. It's a Latin word, to go. He, she, it goes out is literally what the word means. It's a Latin third-person singular of ex eo. We use it as a noun mostly, though. Exorbitant, good word. The prices at, I don't know, in the malls in the USA are exorbitant. That is, too much. An exorcist is a person who tries to rid someone, presumably someone who is mentally ill, of demons. And you perhaps have seen the movies, the famous movies of 10 or 15 years ago, The Exorcist, still pretty exciting. To expand is to make grow. Expansion, the expansion of the U.S. during the 19th century from the beginning of the 19th century, when we were a group of 13 colonies on the East Coast, to the end of the 19th century, when the U.S. covered the whole continent and stretched all the way to the Pacific, we expanded dramatically. Expedient and expedient, use it as a noun, is something that makes a task easier. More important as an adjective. It is expedient, our vague it. It is expedient to... Sometimes it is expedient to pay a little money now rather than a lot later. Meaning it helps to move things, to expedite things, to quicken and make things happen. It's helpful, useful, expedient. Expenditure has to do with money, maybe time, maybe energy even. To expend is to spend, to give out. Our expenditures during the last month exceeded our earnings. To expose is to show, especially in a bad sense. To expose the evils of the government, the corruption. To show, reveal. Extension, extend, to push out in some direction. I'm extending my arm, okay? My arm has reached its full extension now. Extenuate is to soften, to alleviate, not so much that, mostly used extenuating circumstances. That is, the poor man stole bread yesterday under extenuating circumstances. His family is starving. Everyone can understand and sympathize, and it makes a bad thing less bad. Exterminate is to kill. Exterminate insects. Exterminate insects. Extinct is an adjective meaning gone, disappeared. Many species are quickly becoming extinct in the world. That is, they're gone, they disappear. To extol is to praise. Are we doing 45? Extrapolate, hard one. Oh boy. Extrapolate means to take information from other sources and to apply that information from the other sources to a situation that is before us. Difficult word. Not very useful, I think. Extraterrestrial, E.T., come on guys. Literally from away from the world. Extraterrestrial life. Does life exist on the other heavenly bodies in the universe? Extravagance, good word. Normally it means spending too much money. It's a noun. His extravagance when he goes to Seoul is legendary, meaning he spends huge sums of money. Extrovert, opposite introvert. An extrovert turns outside himself. A little dangerous, kind of like introversion is a little dangerous too. The extrovert is always suspect. The extrovert, we assume, is afraid to be alone. Afraid to look at himself, maybe. Always must be surrounded by people, turning outward all the time. Noun. Fabricate is to make, but the implication is that it's to make up as a lie. Fabric, the making of something, but to fabricate a story is to tell a false story, a lie. It's a fabrication. It's a lie. Fame, you know, adjective famous. The goal of some people in the world is to achieve fame, become famous. Farce, good word, I use it every day. A farce literally, I think, or historically, is like a play, even an interlude, between the acts of early plays, when the clowns would come out, trip each other, throw pie in each other's faces, make silly faces, the crowd would laugh, entertained. That is, in a farce usually things happen, things don't work, nothing works. What a farce, I say 10 times every day. This or this is a farce. Facsimile, I think maybe misspelled here, F-A-C-S, is a copy of something. A facsimile is a copy that closely resembles something else. Fastidious, maybe I'm wrong, but it's a facsimile, we say. I'll check that. Fastidious, excellent word. He is too fastidious about the food he eats. That is, he says, I don't like that. I don't like that. Fastidious. A person can be fastidious about human contact. Don't touch me. Don't get close to me. Fastidious. Even about taste and other things like the arts. Good word, fastidious. Fatigue is extreme weariness. He showed fatigue at the end of the game. Faulty, not accurate. A faulty estimate, wrong. A faulty behavior, not really. Faulty performance, full of errors. Feasible is doable. A feasible plan, excellent word, SAT, I think, certainly. A feasible, notice the spelling, I-B. If a plan is feasible, it's workable. It can work. Federal. Federal government. This supposes the cooperation of many states to form a central government, which is the federal government. Feint, excellent word. Fake. That is, in athletics, the athlete gives a head feint and then goes that way. It's only used in that way, but the word is so much better than athletics. It's excellent. A misleading trick. Feminine, having to do with women. femininity. Now I better discuss this. Good. Feminine has to do with women, and therefore soft, gentle. This is yin-yang stuff, even, which is feminine, the yin or the yang, I don't know. But dark, soft, yielding, gentle. This is feminine behavior, and this is femininity. So attractive to males. Fertile, able to reproduce. She is fertile, but the soil is fertile. The soil in the Fertile Crescent, as it's called, Tigris and Euphrates, Iran, Iraq, and all that, the home of civilization, probably. Fertile. To fertilize is to make fertile. A woman can't have babies. She is fertilized sometimes by medical means. Fervent, burning. But what it really means is a fervent admirer. Ardent, same meaning. Ardent admirer. A fervent admirer of someone. Passionate, burning. Fervid, burning also. Passionate in a more negative sense. Perfervid, rare word, meaning so burning that Hamlet becomes kind of fervid, and is one of his problems, his main problem, maybe. Okay, thank you.